Anna Diop, Willem Dafoe, Diane Houseland, John Giwa Amu, and Jason Adu.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you for the bottom of my heart to TIFF for inviting us to premiere The Man in My Basement at your truly incredible festival. It is beyond an honour for us to be here in a strand with so many amazing other films. I'd also like to really quickly thank all the volunteers who really make this festival with their incredible hard work. It's really appreciated. Really, what a premiere is the moment that you stop making the film and you move instead to beginning to understand the film. And that can only happen with the final ingredient, the audience. So I'd like to thank you all for being here tonight, taking a chance on our film and becoming the next part of this film's journey. I thank you also for believing in cinemas and the act of gathering to watch a film together to create the collective experience of a film, particularly at a point in history when we are being encouraged more and more to see ourselves only as individuals. I'd like to thank the cast, both the amazing people you see on stage and the rest of the cast back in the UK. Corey, Willem, Anna, thank you all for your trust, grace, and remarkable good humour. As anyone who makes films know, we on stage are like the tiniest slice of people that it actually takes to make a film. And there are some other people in the audience tonight that I would like to thank. And at the end of the screening, I would like you to all form an orderly queue to ask them about their work or to work with them, because the work that you're going to see on screen is nothing less than extraordinary. They are Ula Pontikos, our cinematographer, Catherine Eder, our production manager, Lynn Ollie, our costume designer, Lisa Mustafa, our hair and makeup designer, Carmel Cochran, our casting director, and not last because he's a man, Robert Aiki Aubrey-Lowe. I thank you for letting me bring this story to cinema audiences. This was the first screenplay I have ever written, and to see my name up there with yours is mind-blowing. Thank you to Protagonists for bringing me onto this film when I didn't even have a finished short film to my name. Thank you to Anscape for bringing this film to audiences. Thank you also to Film 4 for their part in the development of this film and for always putting filmmakers first. Thank you to my parents who flew a very long way to be here tonight and who fed me books and films and theatre. My mum used to sometimes take me to the theatre twice on a Saturday because when you see a creative spark in a child, you fan it as hard as you can. And thank you to my husband, who's the best, even when I'm the worst. I'll wrap it up by saying one thing only about the film you're about to see. At its heart, it's a story about a man who will do anything to keep his home because it's where he feels safe. When we were getting ready to make this film, my family and 13 million other people in Sudan had to flee our homes as we were attacked by a rebel militia who swept through the country. We have not returned in over 2 years. It is the largest displacement crisis in the world. Latest estimates are around 200,000 dead and 25 million people are at risk of starvation. We are the incredibly privileged few who had somewhere else to go, but it is a terrible thing to not know safety and to not know whether you will ever know safety again, whether you will ever be able to go back to your home, if it will ever be there at all. So please, when you go home after this wonderful festival, think about what you can do, what you can pressure your politicians to do to help those around the world who do not know safety, who are displaced by violence and just want to go home. Safety for those in Ukraine, safety for those in Congo, safety for those in Palestine, and safety for those in Sudan. Thank you very much.
You spoke a bit in the introduction about discovering the book, but what was your process working with Walter and collaborating in the writing of this? And what parts of the book did you change in the adaptation for the big screen?
Yeah, well, sorry, that was really full on. That's a really full on thing to watch it with you all. And you were all amazing. Thank you so much. Sometimes I don't know where Walter ends and I begin, but I don't know whether that's Walter as the book or Walter as a screenwriter. I think the film is probably darker and more baroque, I think, than the book. Although I hope they kind of have the same humour, but I think, in truth, you know what's amazing about this is that there's like no risk of spoilers anymore, so we can just like talk about the thing, right? But I, for 21 years, have remembered this image of a man buying a baby to feed to another man's dog, and that was really the central thing in the film for me. Was going that really it's a metaphor for capitalism. But do you know what I mean? And it's like we're all the dog, or we're the baby, or we're the man buying the baby to give. Do you know what I mean? Like I was like, and so it sort of all became about that, and this idea that Aniston knows that everybody has a price. You know, if the woman will sell him a baby, Charles will sell him or rent him his basement, and I think that was what I was kind of bringing to it, was this. I'd already kind of decided what the central image of the film was, and that's how I could understand the rest of the film. But yeah, I mean, it was amazing. Me and Walter, we didn't really co-write on drafts. You know, he wrote some drafts, and then I took over and wrote the later drafts. You know, because we were pushing it towards production anyway. But it's been wonderful, and it's sort of been wonderful to see the bits where I go, oh, that's Walter. There's a bit, so I'm like, oh no, that is fully me. And you can just guess.
I want to ask Corey and Willem. This becomes a real sparring match between you two, and it's a dialogue and an intense contest between you two of ideas. How did you work this out in the filming of the movie, and like what was the dynamic you established? Was it through rehearsals? Did you kind of just let it play out as on set, or what was that like?
I'm dead. I may or may not be. No, I think a lot of it was we had a lot of time to rehearse separately with Nadia. It was a pandemic, and then there was the strike, and just a lot of time to really deep dive into who these people are, or who we imagine them to be, and then the beautiful part is that when you get together with an actor like Willem Dafoe, I mean, all you have left is to play. And you put a lot of that sort of work and that sometimes intellectual work or all of that other stuff aside, and you sort of beat by beat by beat. And the other beautiful part is that we all come from the theater, and so we got to shoot it in order, which was lovely because it sort of gave us everything we needed to beat through this with these characters. But it was fun. It was like literally, I mean, just like it's like playing tennis, a very intense game of tennis. But, yeah.
Yeah, it was important that we shot in sequence. And, there's codependency in this relationship, and that's why we can have this polemic and not seem so showy. So we need each other. We're moving towards these confessions. We're moving towards trying to deal with this hidden stuff that we both have. We're approaching it from different places, but we're pushed to some sort of crisis to try to resolve them. So I think it's kind of very cool that I can't go through my thing without him, and he can't really go through his thing without me. So it's this kinky codependency. So what starts out as a very cordial, kind of understandable, easy, renter, good for me, good for you. I get my place for meditation and thought, and you get some money. Then they're drawn together, and something clicks where they push each other, and that's kind of how the thing is constructed. Because of course you know where it's going because you've read the script, but how the velocity or how you get there is what we work out.
And can I just also add to that, when looking at Charles, it was, a lot of it was looking at his stillness, and this man who is sort of stuck in one place, this paralysis that he's sort of going through emotionally, psychologically, financially, all of these things, plus that trauma and him dealing with that. But the thing, sort of engines and motor, he finds in Aniston, but he also finds it in Narcissus. And there's sort of two polar opposites, but they're also, when we're talking about good and evil and what that is, and which one falls on, which side at any given time, was just incredibly great to explore, but we were just finding those things in the moment, I think.
That's a good segue, because I was going to ask you, Anna, about Narcissus provides this alternate path to Charles' very cynical view of his situation and kind of what to do with the masks that he finds. Can you talk a little bit about being that not uncomplicated, but like kind of beacon of light in what's a really dark time for him?
You took all my words to describe all of it, what I had to say about Narcissus. Yeah, she does come in as exactly that, as a beacon of light. And I think also regrounding him in his emotional self and his humanity, it's something that I think when we meet him, he's so far away from. So yeah, it was an honor to be able to be the character that I think in this is the most grounding for him, and just bringing him back to himself.
I actually always think Anna was rooting for them slightly harder than I was. Because I think there's something about, I can tell you the thing that me and Corey argued about the most was what book Charles is reading at the end of the film. Like up until shooting, I was like, is it one of Aniston's books? Is it one of his family books? Is it the third arm? And because in a way, what Aniston and Narcissus represent is this idea that you could just follow two people. He could either follow what Aniston's beliefs, or he could follow, and actually that's not what he needs. And so the whole idea of putting the Franz Fanon at the end was this idea that a black man must determine himself. Do you know what I mean? Actually he needs to go back into himself and go, who am I? What is my blackness? How do I exist in the world? How do I exist inside the notion of a colonized mind? So actually, I sort of, I'm rooting for them. I sort of hope they get together eventually. But in a way, I'm like, no, Charles is on this amazing voyage of radical black self-discovery. He's got a new do, he's got a new look. This is good. He's going to be on his own. For once, he doesn't need anyone.
There were also some red flags there, so I think
Yes.
That could have been one of Aniston's books.
It could have been one.
It could.
You spoke a bit about your version is darker and more Baroque than the original text. And did drawing out some of those horrific elements, like almost genre elements of this story, get to a kind of emotional immediacy? We're talking about race, we're talking about power, that just a straight dramatic or kind of existential read wouldn't have.
Yeah, I sort of feel like it's a story about an extraordinary thing happening to an ordinary person, and so you should probably put some other extraordinary things. But I think it's, I like to think that everything is sort of founded in some truth. I think that the whole imagery of Rwanda, or if you're listening carefully, there's news about O.J. Simpson happening on the radio at one point. Do you know what I mean? I think all of that is the horror of living and the horror of consumption, and you're the child or you're the dog, and the dog is eating the deer, and the deer is just an accident. Do you know what I mean? I just think it's I think for me, the idea was always that through Aniston, Charles accessed the evil of the world, the evil that is just there. Aniston's that's his daily bread. And actually the second he sort of opens that up from, and not to be impolite about Sag Harbor, but this very kind of protected enclave, and he sort of opens himself up to what it is to be in the world, what it is to be black in the world, what it is to be conscious in the world, then it becomes a horror. It sort of can't help itself. Or at least I think I, as a filmmaker, didn't want to close the door to it, because I was he needs to kind of step through that. So yeah, I'm not sure that's necessarily the answer, but yeah.